Welcome to Zaza Zooms In. I'm Zaza, we're zooming in. In this episode, I spoke to two of my friends, Chinwe, who you've met before, and Toyin. And we just thought we would have a little chat about grief and how it has affected us as individuals. This is what we had to say. Hello, ladies.
Hi.
Chinwe, you're back again.
I am.
Thank you very much for
I'm
coming
a
again.
regular here.
Toyin, this is your first time.
I know.
Welcome to Zaza Zooms In.
Thank you.
Very pleased to have you.
Thank you.
Today we're going to be discussing quite a serious topic actually. I mean,
Yeah,
not that our
difficult.
topics are not serious, but quite a serious topic. So we're talking about grief today. And it's interesting because all of us have experienced grief in a certain way. So we're going to just talk about it. Now you are the freshest. You've had the most recent experience of grief. So, sometimes I think, and I had this conversation with you, didn't I? I think so, off camera, where traditionally there's certain things that are expected of you when grief happens. So we are all Nigerian. Nigeria, I don't know, okay, we're not even from the same culture, but when somebody dies, everybody sort of turns up at the person's house. Now I was brought up by a British woman, and when somebody dies, you send a bunch of flowers and a card. You don't turn up at the house because that's invasive. That's like, they want to be alone. So there are different things that come with grief. And I wanted to just talk about grief, how it even affects you, the person. You made a comment. Okay, I'll tell you, I'll let you go second. You made a comment about, I can't remember, we were in the car, and you said, when everybody leaves, it's really tough.
Oh yeah, I said it becomes very hard when people stop coming.
Yeah.
Because traditionally, yes, people do come. And I've also had that experience where a close friend of mine lost a relative, and I immediately thought, well, let me leave them to grieve.
Yeah.
But the friend now called and was like, where are you? Why? You should be here. Why aren't you here? And so I thought, oh, let me keep off and give them their time.
But okay, can I ask you, why did you think that when you had the experience where your father died and people came,
Yes.
and then you said it got hard when they left, so why did you now not think to go?
I think because you know what? So when my father died, he died at 53, and everybody that came, they were obviously around that age and they were older.
So your parents' friends.
My parents' friends. But somehow when you're doing it yourself, when it happens to you, I don't look at myself as that 50-something-year-old.
Yeah.
I'm still looking at myself like, what would I do? I still look at the person that died as a young person.
Okay, gotcha.
Do you know what I mean? So I thought, well, we leave it off, and so maybe that was it. I just felt, look, they needed their time. I don't know. I didn't really think that much into it. But yes, I was saying that when people stop coming, it's sad. I remember when my dad died, people would come to the house every single day and they would pray with us. And then after he was buried, they would still come, and then they stopped coming. They started stopping. They stopped coming. They weren't coming, and you're like, okay, so one Friday you wake up and nobody's there, just you guys, and you realize that person has been taken from you. You don't really feel it that much.
So the
before.
presence of the people, and maybe that's why you are typical Yoruba girl, so you know why. And so maybe the reason why people come is so that you don't feel it. Is that why people come to your house when you know what I mean?
Well, I think as a culture, as Africans, we believe in community. Okay. And we're warmer. We're warm. Mm-hmm. We're not. I don't have to call you before I come to your house.
Yeah.
I know that if I'm coming to your house, I'm having lunch.
Call me before you come.
No, I'm not coming. I'm not calling you before you that just walked in here. I'm not calling you before I come to your house. And I can go into your. We're warm. I can tell you I'm coming for lunch. It's not a big deal. We're not formal. We believe in community, and the death happened to all of us.
Yes.
So that's also it.
No, so I get that. But what I'm saying is that if that's the case, why do they stop coming? Do you understand?
I mean, life goes on.
But okay, fair enough. But
Life
I just feel
goes
like
on.
because if you're saying your community and then somehow, because how do you then go between? Because in that case, I mean, obviously it's good that they came out good. I feel like it's almost like the buffer, so that the pain of the immediate grief is not so much. So they're kind of like the buffer. Yeah. But life does go on, and you have to get back to life living without this person who was there before. So
and you know what, grief and time.
And grief takes on different forms.
Yes.
It affects people differently. Mm-hmm. So okay, Toyin, coming to you, you have recently lost your brother. Mm-hmm. And talk about that in terms of grief, how it affected you.
I think, so there are different spaces. So there's a space where it's a parent, and it's a different space when it's a sibling.
Yes, because you don't expect a sibling to die.
No.
Whereas
at least your parents, at some point, they're going to leave.
Yeah.
But a sibling, you will always think they'll be forever, and there's
Especially a young sibling,
a young
sibling
sibling,
younger than
you know, and I'm sure, I mean, I can't begin to explain
Yeah, how you
or even how someone who lose their children or child, you know, there are different types of pain
yeah.
in that sense. I guess the grieving process is different. So there are times you need people around you, which is true, because it allows you to just understand this is life, and yes, escape from the reality of what has happened. Especially if you're kind of person that you don't like to really communicate per se, you're not really that expressive. So their body language, their ways of doing things is communicating, even though you're not speaking. And I realized that traditionally, Nigerians, we support each other a lot when it comes to death. That I have. Especially as you're getting older, you realize that the level of support is unbelievable from everywhere. So time has a way of dealing with it in itself. I haven't come to terms with really putting them at the back burner.
But do you ever?
Do you know what
would
I
you
mean?
say that you've come to terms with putting your dad on the back burner? I'm
No,
not
so
sure
my
that
dad
you-
died, so next year will be 30 years that he died.
Wow.
Yes, and yeah, I probably only stopped. Yeah, no, that grief is it lives with
Permanent.
you. It's permanent because the grief comes in your children. So when I look at my children and different things that happen to them, I think
Their grandfather.
yes, their grandfather, like these are things that their grandfather would have liked or would have done or would have, listened to or been able to advise. And even my life, a lot of things that I've gone through, I think, oh, if only my dad was alive, and those kind of things. So.
Well, you see, it's interesting because next year is 50 years since my dad died. So I basically, 50 years, and I've just turned 50. So I literally didn't know him. So I didn't have that grief experience like how you guys. But what I do have or did have is that thing where it's like, so you know where you feel like something is missing.
Yeah.
You don't, I mean, I won't say I had any grief thing. I just, but where you like, and I remember the only time that I remember thinking, because somebody said to me, oh, how does it feel not having a father? And I was like, I don't know any different, to be fair. I mean, obviously I had him for a year, but I don't remember. So I don't know any different. So for me, this is my life. That's how my life is. But where I remember, I think I must have been about 9. And I remember one of my friends, the only time that I remember thinking, I wish I had a father, was one of my friends had come back with a digital watch, these new digital watches. And I remember saying to my mom, oh, can I have a digital watch? And she had just bought me like a Swatch watch or something.
Yes.
So I remember her saying to me, she was like, I'm sorry, darling, you can't. She said, oh, and I was like, oh, but so and so's dad just bought it. She was like, I'm sure if your dad was here, he would have bought you one. And that's the first time I thought, Kai, if only I had a dad. But other than that, it's never really, I mean, okay, walking down the aisle, I guess, to a certain extent, but you didn't, was your dad? No, you didn't have your dad walking down the aisle either. So you know what I mean? So, I mean, I think with that, that's probably, a lot of people might go through that anyways, not walking down there, but I had my father figure, that's so I think grieving takes different,
Who walked you down there?
Tolani, actually. So, it takes different things. So my grieving was never a thing of, oh, sit down and cry and, oh, I'm missing him and, oh, I'm, because I didn't have that relationship. But it's little things, just the other little things through life.
Okay, so putting all that together, so for me, my dad died like 4 years ago.
Okay.
So it's still very fresh as well. But I found out that it's not fresh. Everybody's memory is real to them.
Yes.
Do you understand? So 30 years ago, 50 years ago, 100 years ago, that space is still as real as if it was just yesterday.
Yeah, it's also...
Do you know what I mean? Especially where we have that kind of relationship that you're close with whoever. Do you know what I'm trying to say? So I guess maybe with time,
But I think one of the things was my uncle died not quite 10 days ago, and I remember when I was talking to my cousin, and she said the hardest bit is that she's never going to speak to him again. So that's the sort of thing I'm talking about. Both of you have that. I don't have that because I don't remember ever speaking to him. You know what I mean? But she was like, my problem is that it's not that I can't speak to him, but that I know that I'm never going to speak to him again.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's that like
and it's also like for me, like I know that my dad's death was, even though he was sick for a very little time, it was still unexpected. I never expected him to die. But also I found that so he's been dead longer than I knew him, right? So the things that I'm beginning to forget are really, really, those still upset me. Like, like his scent or like how he actually sounded. Like, do I really remember how he sounded?
Do you have any recordings of it?
I do.
Okay.
But still, how would he have looked? Like when I think of, oh gosh, imagine if he could just come back now. But then he would see me at his age. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or he would see that, gosh, my mom has really aged. She's now older. And those kind of things. I think there was one movie like that. So I'm beginning to forget him. So that's very sad.
Yeah.
So, and that's time. That's where time comes to play. So in a way, all those things will begin to fade. You find out that it's only some of those things that you hold on to. Maybe
But it's not even, you start
photographs.
beginning to forget him, but it's not him
But
you're
it's not
forgetting. It's
forgetting.
just little bits, like,
I was about to say, look at that side sweating. Can we stop? I think we need to stop because I was like,
whose idea was this?
Just a big mess.
no. Okay, well,
Oh, yeah,
let's get each other. Let's get back together. I need some tissue.
You need some tissue. Tissue, go and get tissue, please. Produce some. But no, but it's not forgetting him. It's just little bits of him that are fading away. And I think this is the thing, and this is why they always say your memories are so key.
Yeah.
Because it's how, and I always say this thing, what you focus on.
Yeah.
So you can focus on memories, pleasant memories.
Thank you, darling.
Oh, do you need some as well?
No, I don't mind just having it.
Oh, you got that.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, guys.
Look, it's real. It's real.
It's real.
So it's not. I mean, I know you said I'm forgetting him, but you're not really forgetting him. It's just like that there are things that you remember fondly that are not so vivid.
They're not so
anymore.
sharp.
Yeah.
Like the memory it's fading. So yes. But of course, it lives on in other people, in my kids and things, because I see him there. But still, it is fading. I mean, there are things that I wonder what his opinion would have been on this, or why didn't I listen? There are things I didn't listen to because I was my own at 21. I didn't really care. I wasn't, I wonder what he would have thought of this, or I wonder what, so those sort of things, it is quite painful. And also the other thing that death or grief, death actually, not so much the grief, it makes you a little bit, not insensitive, but hardened. So when I see, my dad died 30 years ago. So when I see people that their fathers died, or their father just died yesterday, I'm like, and they're like really wailing, I'm like, like you had him till he was 80, like what do you expect?
My dad died.
No, when I heard your dad died, I was shocked because I was not expecting, there's no one who expected him to die.
But his was out of the blue now, completely.
His was completely out of it, so I just was not expecting it, and but you do find that you're a bit like, okay. When you look at so when I see people with mother and father, I feel, look, you have no excuse, because a lot of things that, well, for me personally, a lot of things that maybe I lack or I feel, I could have done a bit better here, I blame it to I feel like I don't have both parents.
But it's hindsight, isn't it, as well? Because when you had both parents, I'm sure you took it for granted.
Of course,
so things that, you know what I mean? No, but
so
these same people that
enough,
you're looking at,
they take
are
it
taking it for granted.
No, but I always, I have always had a great fear that my parents would die.
Okay.
Always, like my whole life, that's been my fear. And then it happened, and then you're like, okay. But also, what were we going through at that age? I mean, at 21 and 18, 17, there was nothing. I mean, our choices were so limited in what we really needed to do. So I didn't feel I needed, I didn't know that my father being there meant anything, so, but now,
Well, isn't that the case with losing anything in life?
Yes, you don't know until you've lost it. It's true.
You know what I mean? You have a better appreciation when it's gone.
Well, I mean, that's why they always say, live, what's that? There's a statement that says, live as if you're going to die tomorrow.
Live today.
Live today as if you're going to die tomorrow, but I can't remember the rest of it. The other person says,
sure.
Yeah, so basically saying that,
live your best life.
I'll find it and I'll put it on here. So it's effectively saying that you should, I'll find it.
Isn't it like live today, like there's no tomorrow?
No, so basically it says live today as if you're going to die tomorrow. That's the one that people always quote.
Just like appreciate the ones you love before they're gone or something.
That's a very good one, but that was it.
Just from nowhere.
But you see, people always remember that bit, live today, but it's part of a bigger thing that says something else.
Yeah.
So I'll find it. I even read it the other day. I'll find it. But I think it's, that's the key thing, is about enjoying every moment, living every second,
celebrating
living the moments. But I always say this thing, that every moment, even the bad moments, we should feel them, we should live them, because I think sometimes we try to avoid the bad moments to just do the good moments, but that's not life now. Life is full of
Life is good and bad.
You feel the bad moments, cry till you're over it, then get on with life. Because if you ignore that and you don't deal with it, then it's going to come and catch you later.
Be able
so
to process
it's like,
it.
Okay, guys, I don't think we should go any further because we don't want to be in tears. But well done. Thank you for being so open and vulnerable. And I hope we'll see you again on Zasaa Zooms In. Chinwe has made herself a resident visitor. We have so much to talk about. That's the problem. So much to talk about. Okay, brilliant. Thank you very much, ladies.
You're very welcome.
Thank you so much.
for
Great
having
being
us
here. Thank
on
you.
board.
Thank you.
As you see, we've all experienced grief in different ways at different times, and what we got out of this is that grief happens differently to different people. The way you grieve is completely different from the way that I grieve. What you need when you're grieving is completely different from what I might need when I'm grieving. And so I think it's really important that we just allow ourselves, that we are kind to ourselves, and we allow ourselves to go through the process of grief, however that is, whatever that process is for us, and come out the other end. And don't forget that there's lots of support out there. Reach out if you need help. There's lots of support out there. You don't have to go through it alone. God bless you.